Hi guys, hello and welcome to another C# programming tutorial. In this tutorial, I will teach you how you can use arrays in the form application. And we have a list box over here in which I will be populating my items. And the name of this list box in my application will be listId. Then I will have a button here on which upon clicking it will process an item selected from the list box and will display the name of that student, the score of that student, and the letter grade of that student. Therefore, to make this application work, we have three text boxes at the bottom. These are their names in the application, and they're all set to be read-only. What we'll be doing in this example is, as you pick an item from the list box, it will automatically process that ID and will display the name, score, and the letter grade of that person down here. And we will also try to do the same example with the click of a button. So the button as well as selecting an item, both ways the data can be processed. The item selected can be processed so that you can learn multiple events that way. Also, what I will do is I will also be teaching you form load event, that if you want any of the data item to be processed right at the time when the form gets loaded. So what I will do is I will create an array and I will use that array to populate the list box at form load event. And then when the other events happen, I will go and grab the corresponding data for name, score, and letter grade and will display them in the respective boxes. Letter grade will be computed, will not be coming in from an array score, but based on the score, the letter grade will be computed. So let's get started. Let me first show you the setup of this in C#. And this is the forms application. As you can see over here that I have a student ID label, name label, score label, letter grade label, and each of the items like list ID is my list box, which is available under common controls that I drag and drop, or you can double click, however you want to do it. And you can change the name from the name property down here. So as you can see here, as I go through each one of my item, the list ID is the name of my list box. Then I have over here text name, as you can see in the name property. Then I have text score and I have text letter. To get started, I can double click on this gray area to go and into the form load event. So as I double click, as you can see over here, I have the form load event. I have the button click event, which you can double click on the button and it'll add it for you. Similarly, if you double click on the list box, it will add the selected index change event. So in the form load event, what I would like to do is I would like to declare an array of string. So these are the IDs that I would want to load, and I will run a loop which will go from 0 to n-1, which is 3 in our case. And what it will do is every time it cycles, it will basically put one item into a list box. If you remember from your previous classes, in order for you to add anything to a list box, you need to call by the name of the list box. In our case, that is listId.Items.Add, and that's how you can add an item to a list box. Since in our case, all the items are in an array, so I'll use the name of the array and an index number, as you can see over here, that we're going to go and grab from this index number from this array, and then we're going to populate the list ID that way. Just to show you that how it works, so that you could see that on the form load event, you will see that the entire list box gets populated with values. And this is basically what happens when you write anything in the form load event. As you can see when I run it, that's what happens. No events are yet added, so nothing happens down below. Now, whatever code I will write in the button, it's the exact same code that will going to go under list ID selected index change. There'll not going to be any difference in the code. So we'll just write the code once and then copy paste it. So let me create a couple of parallel arrays for these student IDs. One that will be the names of the students and the other one will be their scores. So these are the two other arrays which I am declaring and loading in the button. Now remember, my IDs array is already loaded into the list box, so I don't have to refer to the IDs array anymore. Rather, I will going to refer to the list box. How do I refer to the list box? Well, one of the easiest way would be that as soon as an item is selected from a list box, since list box is also an array, you record the index number of the item that got selected, which could be easily pulled by calling the selected index property of a list box, and I'm storing that in an integer variable. Once I get that, what I will do is I will use that same index number to pull out the score of the corresponding student. So if I select 111, the value of selected index will be 0. I'm storing that value in IDX, and I'm going to go to that location and pull the score, which is 74. Okay, so similarly, I can just simply display the score of the student and the name. All I need for that purpose is the index. Now you may be wondering, why in the world did I store it in a variable first? Well, the only reason I stored it in the variable because right here I will write my letter computation logic, and for that I will need the value of the score stored in a variable much easier rather than continuously pulling it from an array. So that's why I just pulled it here. I could very well use that same variable over here as well, as opposed to saying scores idx.string. I could say score.ToString too. That will be just perfectly fine. Just to show you how the program looks right now, let me run it again. And as you can see over here, that as I select an item from the list, let me pick 112 for example. So 112 should be Jim as a name and 80 as a score. And let me click the button because I wrote the event on the button, and you can see Jim and 80 shows up in the boxes. Okay. Now for the letter grade, let me do a quick fix here. Let me increase the size of the form and maybe move these items just a little bit to the right. Okay. And that way, just to align it better. Okay, now let me go back and let's write the logic here for the score. If the score is between 90 and 100 inclusive, then the letter grade will be A. So as you can see, it's greater than equals to 90 and is less than equals to 100. Okay, so I'm saying that the letter grade is A. Now for the second check, I can only check the lower limit because my first if already checked for the upper limit, because I would not make it to line 36 if the value was between 90 and 100. Now if I'm making it to line 36, that means the value is less than 90. It could be any value less than 90. And I'm just putting a cap on how low of a value to check again. So as long as the value is less than 90 and greater than equals to 80, the letter grade will be B. And likewise, I will build for the rest of the 3 letter grades C, D, and F. Okay. Now, once I do that, through this process, now the letter grade box will also receive a letter grade based on the score. Let's test this program. As you can see over here, as I pick a letter grade, as I pick an ID, let me pick a different person because we already tried 112. And let me click the button. As you can see, Tom 99A, 112, Jim 80B. 111, Samantha 74C. So you can see that it computes a letter grade. If I want to make it work for on click on the item, like which is called the selected index changed, let me copy this code and paste it right here. And now the same program will work on click on any of the item directly inside the list box. So let me pick. And as you can see here, 111, 112, 113, 114, much faster. So I just wanted to show you how you can do this program, either by choosing an event directly on the list box or by clicking on the button. So anyway, for those of you who are my students, this was your guide for the midterm exam. As in the midterm exam, you have a hands-on part, and you'll have something very similar to do it will be a different problem. And you do not have to solve it exactly the same way that I'm solving it over here. And then you will have to produce similar output for a console application. So you have to use some logic there. Most of the logic will be the same, just a little difference in input and output logic. Anyway, I hope you would have learned from this tutorial how to work with different kinds of events in the form element, how to work with parallel arrays, how to load an array into a list box at a form load time, and many other things. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.